He shoots from the lip and not the hip. Very, very proactive. He launched an unsuccessful campaign some time ago during the presidential and parliamentarian elections in Sierra Leone, where he hailed from, okay, but was unfortunate in a constituency called 111, for which some people have come to know him. They call him 111. He's also have another AKA called Supermed. To me, from the research I've done, constituency 111 is critical and is in a strategic location which runs through Hastings, Robamba, Yams Farm, Rokel, Devil Hole, Deepwater, and etc. See how deep that it is. But who am I to explain it much more than the man himself, who is a God-fearing young man? Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to this show Mr. Mohamed Kamara, aka Supermed 111. Supermed, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Mr. Prince. It's a pleasure being with you guys, and I want to say again that thanks everybody who was tuning to watch this program. And we're very sorry for all the technicalities and everything again. And yes, like you said, I'm somebody who's been inspired by so many people, and I always wanted to contribute to the development of my beloved home country, which is Sierra Leone. And like you said, the constituency, I was aspiring to become a member of parliament. I've lived here for over 20 years, and it's a very beautiful and wonderful community. The people are lovely people, and I've been encouraged by the people themselves. And this community starts from Hastings, like you said, New York, Yams Farm, Rokel, the Bulo, the Bearwater, and Whitestone, where it ends. And it's also a new constituency, actually, because as you know, recently there has been some demarcation and changes with the constituency in the country. Because that particular constituency used to be constituency 92, but it's a new constituency now known as constituency 111. And the people have really, really helped me, encouraged me, and you know, I had lots of support with the people. But like you said, I was unsuccessful out of some sort of technicalities, which
Mr. Kamara, we will go into that. And you've already dealt with my first two questions long before I even asked them. But in a historical sense, or for the benefit of the general public who are watching and will watch this tape later, the two questions, or the two into one question that I was going to ask, which you've just addressed, is what is your affiliation to this particular constituency? And for the benefit of the public, I was going to ask you to explain about this constituency with all this magnificent name, which you've done already. So I will move to my second question. But where I stopped you, we will come to that because there's a question around that. But let's move on because I don't want to take your time very much up. Mr. Kamara is a devout Muslim and he's taking time off. I must commend you again inside of the interview, taking time off an important segment in your religious life to be my guest on this program, and I have to, run away with things so that we can get this thing done so that you can attend to other problems. But here it is, Mr. Kamara. Opportunists, as you will know, are very much present in our political landscape. Opportunists, as you will know, are very much present in our political landscape, and they are increasing by the hour, traversing the length and breadth of our country. My question to you is, are you looking for an opportunity to benefit your people? In other words, is it your people that are driving you to help to make a change in their lives, or are you just one of those that are looking for political opportunity so that you can better yourself in a material way?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. But that's a very important question. Before I go further, I'd have to give you a brief history of my background. I hail from a very humble family. My dad used to be a fisherman, and my mom is a fishmonger. And, we come from a very, very humble and blessed beginnings. So I know all the struggles people go through, and I've been part of those struggles as well. So these are all my key motivations that are pushing me towards this goal to become a politician, because I know to make the changes that I desire, that I dream of, that I'm hoping to bring to my community and in general in my country, I'll have to go into politics. So it is very, very important for me to show that sincerity, that I'm very, very sincere. So when I always talk to people, I go back to my background and tell them where I hail from, where I am from, who is this Mohamed Kamara they're talking about today, you know, and it's the key motivation for me here. And to put it, I always said, like you said earlier on, I'm a very religious person as well. I always say to myself, if I've got any dubious motive just to benefit myself, not for my people or my community, I pray to God as a very, very devout Muslim that I don't become successful in it. But if God knows my intention that I'm in this to help the people and to help improve our community, the standard of living of my people, God help me to get successful, and so that we can move forward and forge a better way for my people and my community.
On that note, Mr. Kamara, well said. But not too long ago, you were part of a contingent of hopefuls. There were many young progressives that left the shores of the Western world, trying to go back home to make probably meaningful changes, which we've just spoken about earlier on. This group of people, most of them were dynamic, and I have no doubt that you are, okay? And you were a parliamentarian hopeful. You obviously did not succeed. Do you care to tell us what went wrong? Why did the project went wrong?
Okay, thank you. That's very important as well to say what went wrong. Well, I could say this was an all-round problem, because really all of us had a mistake. All of us contributed to make towards that mistakes, because the Constitution, the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone, is like the Bible or the Quran of the rule of law of Sierra Leone, and it clearly states in Chapter 6, Section 76, subsection 1A, that you cannot be a dual citizen if you want to be a member of parliament. But I suppose most of us made a mistake of not going through the Constitution thoroughly. And unfortunately, just before the process begins for the award of symbol, one of the prominent lawyers and a member of the opposition party by then, which is a ruling party now, the SAPP party, who is commonly known as lawyer Gabidon, raised this issue because this issue originated from Australia, where one of the ministers had the same issue. So because of this constitution we had drawn up during, well, just post-colonial time, most of these things, what the fathers of the constitution intended, were misconstrued in this nowadays interpretation. So I couldn't blame, I think the blame goes around to all of us. So we fell victim of this particular act of the Constitution. So that was the reason why we were, well, technically disqualified. But notwithstanding that.
Yeah, go on, please.
But notwithstanding that, the support and the encouragement and the help I got from my community motivates me to continue on this path. And we are hoping now with this new government in place, and with all the opposition parties and everybody talking that they're going to repeal that particular ambiguity in the Constitution, hopefully they will get that sorted, and hopefully by the next coming election in 2023, these things will be open, because we don't want the country to disadvantage. Because like you said, we are very dynamic people all over the diaspora who can contribute positively to the development and
all right, okay, Mr. Kamara. You see, obviously, there is no inkling of a doubt that you are a very smart young man, and it sounds to me like you are already paving the way for the future. But you were already intruding into the next question that was supposed to follow, which is, you did not appear to have done your homework well, which you have admitted to, by the way, okay? In other words, you did work on your strength, if is what you've said is anything to go by. You did work on your strength, but to quote you, you said, well, we did not see this. We knew that it was there, but we did not see it coming. And then you even talked about the lawyer Gabidon. So in other words, you worked on your strength and opportunity, but not your weakness. But the issue here is, unlike some opportunists, some of them have melted away. Some of them have metamorphosed overnight into something else, some different campaigns, different parties, and etc. You continue to be very vociferous on social media, and that's exactly what you are doing here tonight. So in other words, a man who is supposed to be bitter in terms of what happened is still speaking, in my opinion, in behalf of a party that let you down. What's all this about?
Well, you know, there's something they said. There's a saying that says, you've got to look in your life and think when you're in your well, let me say a phrase like this: you're in a deathbed, and think what have I done positively to contribute to my society in their drive to development. And I know the APC party has been the only party that has brought about credible and sustainable development in the country. I mean, I know they've got their own shortfalls, but what we are presented with in Sierra Leone today, I think APC party is the only credible party that have brought about credible and sustainable development in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education. I must say education, because I know now the current government is talking about free education, but I want to remind everybody there was partly free education in Sierra Leone. Primary school education has been free for over 5 years in Sierra Leone.
We will come to that in a minute, because there are technicalities around that. So while you could be projecting something which might be correct, but there are always technicalities around it, and somebody will be saying, well, yes, there were, but there were limitations, or this is it, I'm giving an extra copybook, and etc. But I promise you that we'll come to that. What is wowing me, if you will like, yeah, is you're still, you're very passionate about the All People's Congress, the APC. Could we then use this occasion, because all throughout what I'm looking at and watching you, as a very dynamic young man on social media, which I've been doing following you, will we use the phrase, which is very popular among APCNs, saying, is it because you're not APC picking?
No, not at all, not at all, because, I have to be objective here. I've been in the political process in Sierra Leone since I was a kid, basically, because my family were involved in politics and everything like that, and I know how they were aspiring, hoping that politics will alleviate the problems and issues in Sierra Leone. And they've had so many failed promises and stuff. But I've looked into the political arena in Sierra Leone. I know there are many political parties in Sierra Leone. Among them, the famous parties are the SLPP, which is the ruling party now. We've got the APC, the former ruling party. Now we've got the NGC and the C4C. And I have to be realistic and objective here. And I've seen what during the time when SLPP was in governance, and we've seen when APC is in governance. And all what we can see, tangible proofs, is the APC, when they're in governance, had something to point at. They have got what people call pointers, that this is what they've done, this is what they've done. But unfortunately, the other parties, basically it's the SLPP party, because only the two parties have ruled Sierra Leone. You cannot see anything that you can point tangibly that this is what the SLPP party has done. Since they're in power.
On that note, Mr. Kamara, if I can just interject, please.
Okay.
There is something, which is obvious on social media, which is people are beginning to look at you, or at least that's my take, and I stand to be corrected. And you said it anyway, part of the discussion that we are having, that you like to project an objective image. And if this is true, I have no reason to doubt that, because seeing you on social media, that's exactly what that implies, or the message that it sends to me. But when within the same breath, you try to be politically correct, this is my emphasis, you can hear this, politically correct, by saying directly, APC is the only party that when they are in governance, you've got things to point at, tangibles. So you want to talk about development like roads and structures, for example, at least there are things that you can point to. Don't you think that people who are looking at you from a balanced objective in terms of the way you conduct yourself on social platform will feel a little bit disappointed?
Well, I suppose people should listen to what I said. If they listen to what I said, I have to be clear and honest. I know APC has their own shortfall. I always highlight the shortfalls of APC as well. But I have to look into the two main parties. We know the NGC and the C4C have never come into power in Sierra Leone, but the APC and the SLPP, we have to make judgments between these two parties. Even I forgetting about me as a member of the APC party, but I look at the party objectively and say, I know this new SLPP government has come back in. It's just been in for a couple of months now, so we cannot really say for certain this is what they've, but like they said in they said in Akrio, they said, Mario for sweet now the bachelor's eve. So we're looking at certain key things here and thinking, well, are these people going to deliver? But the assumption so far, or the way we look at it so far is that, well, it's not very promising at the moment. So let's just hope and pray that maybe things will change. Because they normally say it's a new direction. We hope in the direction will, but I'm always very objective, and I always try to discuss issue as clearly as possible without using parties. And although I'm a member of the APC party, but I don't inject parties and politics into it. I just talk about them objectively in an open way that everybody can make his or her own opinion about those issues.
Now, a week in politics is quite a long time. So 2 months since the elections was last held is quite a long time. But while it is a long time for many people, it's still very fresh on the memories of others. Now, let me still talk to you as if you are still the party that was meant to win the elections. And I say this because there are arguments out there, there's a school of thought out there that thinks that APC was the party on track to clinch the elections, that APC was the most popular party then. So, Mr. Kamara, I ask you this question. How could the ruling party, which apparently appeared to be so famous, or the party of choice, lost the elections?
Yeah, that's very, very important question, because as you know, the former ruling party, which is the opposition party now, the APC, are conducting like a research into this thing, and they've got a committee that they've put together that is going to look into this. But I'm just giving you my own general view about how I see the election, as I was there and I witnessed everything. I was part and parcel of the campaign. I definitely think we depended too much on public rallies, holding big public rallies and mobilizing thousands of people, with tens of thousands of people turning out in our public rallies. And we're thinking, in other words, we are complacent, thinking, oh, well, because of these people turning out, supporting us, jubilating, dancing for us, we were going to be victorious. But sometimes...
So clearly, you think that the emphasis, where the emphasis was placed, was wrong. It should have been put somewhere else.
It should have been put somewhere else. I mean, like, that is just one example of what might have contributed to us losing elections. There are many others. I mean, like you said, everybody is saying it now, loud and clear. The way we go about choosing our own flag bearer for our party nomination for the presidential candidate was not as something that people were very, very happy about. So that's another issue.
Okay, because this will lead into many of the answers that you will provide. Let's not belabor on that. But the next question would be, do you think that your party, the All People's Congress, should begin a project of reform? Do you think the party needs some reform?
Definitely, I absolutely think so. I think the party themselves, the party hierarchy themselves knows that. That's why they've put this committee together to look at what causes them to lose the election, the problems, and how they'll come back to power. So they themselves know that we need a root and branch completely reform. You know, there's lots of problems, I think, with even our constitution, the APC party constitution. And that has to be looked at. And the way the party as a whole deal with information, that's another key issue. Information.
So Mr. Kamara, for the benefit of time, I wish we had time, because this is important, and I can see every strand, every nuance, every effort that you make in trying to really, really get to the core of the things that you are trying to explain. And I can see the passion as usual. But unfortunately, we don't really have time in our favor. And most of the questions, they kind of interweave. That's how it's been prepared with the previous questions. So the answers of previous questions will almost answer questions that are upcoming, which is you sound like you're looking for a radical change. You sound like, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but is it like out with the old, in with the new, progressives, because you're talking about the changing of constitution, reforming the entirety of the party? Is it a bottom-top approach or a top-bottom to bottom approach?
Well, like I said earlier on, that is key to the party moving forward. We need reforms. But at the same time, we have to be very careful how this reform is going to take place. We don't just want to go and just eject people out of their positions now, because the party has a constitution that is operating under it at the moment. And most of these people have a term in office, up to 3 years in office. So we have to make sure we come into consultation. Respected, exactly so.
Okay.
So,
yeah, carry on. Finish your point, please.
With those executives who are in charge of those positions at the moment, I think with all of us coming together peacefully, sit down and try to discuss each issue as open as possible, I think we'll find something that is amicable, that we all could agree on, and then that will eject us forward and move us forward to a path of success.
Of course, we've used the key language already into this last part of your statement that you were making, which is the party needs reform, but it needs to be done within the rule of law, because there is a kind of rule-based system within the party. In other words, the party is an institution. But notwithstanding, should this reform take place, the party itself has got some pretty decent and heavy names, okay, in terms for leadership contention. In your view, Mr. Kamara, which name or which names, now you don't have to, but if you want to, which name or names do you think you will associate with the reformation of a new party? Should a new APC emerge? What kind of names will you be associating with a kind of new leadership?
Well, thank you very much. I also believe that the APC is full of people, dynamic and good people, who can take Sierra Leone forward. There are loads and loads of people. I don't want to be specific and start naming names at the moment, but there are lots of people who've got the capacity, who've got the knowledge, the experience, and got the will to take that country forward, who are members of the APC party, who are working very hard and tirelessly to move the country forward as well. So these people, the APC party is blessed with lots and lots of these people. And it's just a matter of us coming together, organizing ourselves peacefully. Peace is very key here. Organizing ourselves peacefully and put things in place so that we can elect somebody. This time it's not selection, I'm afraid. We elect somebody whom all of us can put our hope and trust on, that can take the party forward and in the key thing, take the country, Mama Salone, forward. Because that's the key objective for us as all Sierra Leoneans, regardless of which political party we are. We want our country, Sierra Leone, to move forward. Sierra Leone to be like the APC promised in the previous government, that by 2030, they want Sierra Leone to become a middle-income country. So this is our hopes and this is our hope and dream. We are hoping and dreaming this will happen. And I believe APC has key people, good people, who once will come together and elect them, can move this country towards those projections with the help of God, as I can always say, because I should not forget it.
Mr. Kamara, within social media circles, which is prevalent and dominant in terms of political discourse and proactiveness, politically, economically speaking, be it back home, be it in Europe, be it in the Americas or in the Australias, social media is dominant in terms of the national or international discourse. No one can rule that out. Although maybe in my next broadcast, I'm going to be singling out a minister for just dismissing social media and trying to entertain orthodoxy which is being questioned now. But here is my question to you, sir. And I want to shift gears a little bit. I think I've taken on you enough, not enough, but a lot on your party, your beloved party. And I think you've addressed those concerns and issues thoroughly. Okay?
Thank you.
But what are your thoughts, views, analysis, prospect, insight on the new government?
Well, thank you. That's very important because the new government came in with so much hope, so much promise to the people. People are looking forward to this new government moving the country forward. But so far, I must say this, there is lots of disappointment going on around at the moment. Because, like I always say in social media, I look at things not from a partisan point of view. I look at things and the point of view of how Sierra Leone will develop, how Sierra Leone would be a country that looks after its citizens. And one thing, I must say this as well, one thing in the Constitution of Sierra Leone, the starting chapters, chapter 2, section 5, subsection 2b said, the peace,
it talks about
security,
the primary purpose and responsibility, which I was going to come to.
Responsibility, exactly so. Yeah. And that is very key because since this government has come into being, I mean, the president was sworn in, I was there. We've had so many issues about people alleging violence taking place all over the country. We know at some point, thousands of people had to run away from Kono because of threat of violence. We know many complaints coming from the southeast as well. Even as far as Freetown, people felt intimidated, people felt threatening. And I think that is a key responsibility. It's actually the primary purpose of the government to maintain peace and stability. You can't say what may about the former government of the APC party, but one thing they maintained in the past 10 years in governance was peace and stability. So whatever you say about the APC party before, peace and stability was one of their key armaments, and it's very, very important for a country like Sierra Leone with the history that it's got to maintain and nurture that peace and stability, because it's only through peace and stability that Sierra Leone can move forward. You see, without peace and stability, the Sierra Leone moving forward will be very, very difficult because it doesn't create an environment.
Yes,
I must say this again because
go on.
I must say this again, Mr. Prince. Yes, I didn't mention it earlier on. I'm somebody who is very keen in law and order. In short way, in my community, my constituency 111, when the people came to me there, the police post, there was a police post there for over 40,000 constituents. So can you imagine? It's a massive, big, highly populated constituency, over 40,000 people. The police station, the police post that was there before was in a dire state. And the people, the community met me and talked to me about this issue, that we need a police post or station in this community to maintain law and order in this community, because this community is a growing community. I myself, with the help of God, come with the community together and sponsor the construction of a new police post that it was even gazetted into the Sierra Leone Police Authority.
Okay, we will come to that. That's quite critical. But issues of that nature, they are really sensitive, and I must congratulate you for that. But let's get back to the real issues, because I agree with you, because I've seen your postings. I've seen you challenge people. You know, I've seen you like a good hand, like a safe pair of hands, they will say in politics, trying to create a balance. That's why earlier on I asked you the question in terms of almost something like you would call a finger pointing at the other side, even though everybody knows that you belong to the other side. But this is it. You're calling for a commission of inquiry. Sounds really, really good, okay? And again, it's because, in my opinion, you've got the mind or the heart of the people in your heart of hearts. You want to make sure that the people are well-to-do, and chaos and mayhem should not be the order of the day. But when under this government, you say that there should be a commission of inquiry, and I've listened to you, by the way, let me make it clear, and your calling was really, really good, because all you were saying is like, a commission of inquiry, some of the reasons or the significant purpose behind a commission of inquiry is to say never again, because those people that have lost their lives, those people that have lost their properties, they're not going to get this back. But exactly. How can we move away from there? So you made a very, very good point. But my question that I want to ask Mr. Kamara, if you will permit me to, is, have you got instances to refer to, like incidents, physical incidents that happen? Because we've seen on social media, we know that photoshopping can take place. I'm not accusing anyone of doing Photoshop. We've seen already other issues that people are pointing fingers at the present day government. Is this behind why you're asking for a commission of inquiry?
Yes, definitely. That's why the commission of inquiry is very, very important. Because what the commission of inquiry does is establish the fact. We will know whether if these are true allegations, because people are alleging. We're getting people calling us from different communities all over the country, alleging we've been attacked, we've been doing, this has happened. We saw some other things that we can't verify actually, because there was an APC party office in Tayama that was burned down, because that was shown. That people can take a picture of it and everything. We'll see that. So these are all supporting evidence.
In other words, I mean, there's an insinuation there. The APC cannot go and burn down their own building.
Their own office, yes. But that's so the key thing. That's why
it must be somebody else. You don't know who that somebody else is, but it's obviously not your. Okay. We need to make progress.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to make progress.
The commission of inquiry would deal with all this. The commission of inquiry is not a witch hunt. That's why it has to be a judge-led commission of inquiry. We've seen it here. We've seen the Stevie Lawrence inquiry.
That leads me to my next question, Mr. Kamara. You see, you're a man that always speaks with passion, and the fact that you're calling for a commission of inquiry, which is a very, very good notion, and any government should do that in good faith. Because earlier on, just that we missed the tape, I played the swearing-in ceremony of the now present President of the Republic, His Excellency retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, in which he said that he will look after all his responsibilities. He will not shy away from it. In other words, he will provide protection for every Sierra Leonean. Unfortunately, this is happening. Okay? Might not be that he's in control, he's just taking over, and I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just giving instances. But the fact that you are calling for a commission of inquiry on what is happening now, and based on rumors, this channel hates to do with rumors, but rumors sometimes does come true. Would you like to see a commission of inquiry to investigate former corrupt officials?
Commission of inquiry for former corrupt officials. If they are former corruption officials, then obviously they have to investigate it. If they've got, it shouldn't be.
But I'm sure, Mr. Kamara, stop playing with semantics here now. If they were former, we had 10 years, of one particular government in power. There were no saints, okay? And this is where parties need to start, taking due diligence of situations that happen under their watch. Because I can quote you the former president, for example. There is a tape out, which I'm sure you most likely will have seen, in which he said, I don't want to know about Ebola money, una not eat Ebola money. In which ministers publicly flaunted. You talk about complacency earlier on. Now you see, I bring you up to the point in which, would you like to see a commission of inquiry to charge people or investigate people who were flaunting the rules publicly? Ministers carrying around bags of money in public, social media, the days where anybody can just flip out their phone and begin to record you, yet you not be give a damn. The former president's brother in public.
Yeah,
so let's keep it real, Mr. Kamara.
Yes, this is very important, Mr. Prince. This is very important because we need to fight corruption in our country, because corruption is the main cancer that is destroying our countries. This is very, very important. But what I'm saying here is we want everything to be as open and transparent and just. We just don't want to do like some sort of persecution against some former officials that we don't like, because this also has a very, very key insinuation in our country, because the peace and stability of our country depends on this as well. If we're calling, don't forget, this other party or different parties got their own supporters. So we have to handle it very, very transparent, open, and justly. So we're all calling for this if it's going to be handled transparent and justly. But that's what we said. We were disappointed so far with the new government, because the new government came in.
I will come to that. I just want to take up on one issue, because earlier on you spoke strongly in terms of a commission of inquiry, some commission of inquiry regarding post-election violence. Okay, yes. You even quoted the Constitution, and I will quote you. Chapter 2, subsection 5, section 5, subsection 2B.
Yeah.
But when it comes to me asking the other way around about a commission of inquiry regarding corrupt officials, you appear for the sanitize, the situation, and belaboring, going at length, saying it should not be about witch hunting, which I didn't hear you say when you talk about post-election violence commission of inquiry. Where is the...
Okay, thank you, Prince. I think you missed that my point as well, because that's one of the key points I emphasized. I said the commission of inquiry, it shouldn't be a witch hunt. It should investigate the causes, the perpetrators, and the victims. We want to know and put in place recommendation. The end of goal of it is to put in place recommendations that will prevent this not to happen again. Because the key thing for our country, it's a young democracy, is to maintain the peace and security of the country. But the commission of inquiry into corruption and wherever thievery or wherever any corrupt official has done, that is an open case, because we've got a ministry of that deals with the person that deals with corruption in our country, the Attorney General and others.
Yeah, obviously, you're right. Nobody wants a witch hunt. That's not really a good thing. At most, nobody wants for encourage post-election violence in the country. In other words, no Sierra Leonean should die as a consequence of the changing of guard, the changing of party, the change of political stripe. No Sierra Leonean should lose their property, much more their lives for that. So with that, I'm in complete agreement with you, sir. Complete agreement. But I want to make progress a little bit more.
Okay.
A filthy city is an obligation of any government. But there have been a lot of brouhaha around this government, the way they've conducted the cleanup campaign so far. Now there is an authoritative body, just for remind the general public, those that are watching and will watch later, and City Council, by act of law, are designated for handle those stuff. But in goodwill, the government itself is chipping in there. But there's a much confusion around this. Now you are well informed and you're well known in terms of voicing out your opinion. And there's definitely an opinion on this particular case. You don't mind telling us where you stand on this case?
Well, that's the thing again we're saying. The rule of law is very important here, because in governance there are processes. You don't just jump onto things like that. Because like you said, the Freetown municipality, the Freetown City Council municipality is responsible for cleaning the city and everything. So if the government wants to help chip in, it should work in conjunction, in correlation together with the city council to make sure this exercise is done properly. But we can see again, because of the rule of law is absent, we see what happened the first day the cleaning started. We see the confusion that was created by a designated minister. The president himself passed an order, said the cleaning starts from 6 to 12. And the president traveled, unfortunately, that day. And what happened? A designated minister came and changed that order, saying the cleaning should be extended to 4 o'clock. And this completely wrong foot. So many people, people, their programs, their weddings, there are many, many things to do in the evening. So all of this, wrong-footed and creates lots of confusion because the rule of law is not being followed and because the process is not being followed. And this is what we are reminding this new government about, is that you can get all sorts of good intentions, but if you don't put things in place and follow the way it's supposed to be done, then the end result is not going to be good for the people. And it's not going to be good for you, the government, as well. So these are the key things we're trying to put through when we're calling for all of these things. Because, like again, you were saying about the commission into corruption. There are many allegations. Don't forget, our current head of state or the president of this current party or the Sierra Leone used to be a president before. So there are many, many allegations. We saw the presidential debates being made. Many, many allegations of corruption into other people, into the other party. So we're talking about this, about corruption. We have to talk about corruption in generally, not only to one side. Say, oh, I'll investigate this government, That's why when I called for my commission of inquiry, I said the commission of inquiry does not have limitation. It can look all the way from 1992 or whatever up to date, to see whether the reason for this post-election violence originated from this and put things in place. You see, and it's the same thing again here. We have to follow the rule of law. Like I said, the Constitution should be the Bible or the Quran for any government in Sierra Leone. We have to go by it. We have to respect it. Otherwise, anything else will come second in place. Development for Sierra Leone will be very, very difficult. This is very, very important for us to follow it. And all of us, as citizens of Sierra Leone and even friends of Sierra Leone, will be rest assured to support, invest, promote Sierra Leone because they know the rule of law is being followed in Sierra Leone. That is paramount. Unless we follow the rule of law.
Which I agree with. The rule of law should triumph over everything else. And this is exactly what my next question is. Because, again, I take on you on the issue of a commission of inquiry, which you rightfully say, should there be any corrupt official? In other words, well, I will endorse a commission of inquiry, but you are putting caveats around that commission, which should be, but the caveat that you are putting around there, from what I understand, could be very wrong. It seems like it's much more like favor. So when it comes to the other side, in terms of inquiring as to post-election violence, they should go the full length. But if it comes on the other side, in terms of past officials, a commission of inquiry, there should be ifs and buts. Is that what you're saying?
Not at all, Mr. Prince. The commission of inquiry into corruption should go the full length. That's what the point I'm trying to make. It should go the full length, regardless of which political party you are now, or regardless if it's the political party that is in governance. It should go the full length.
So what's your take? What's your take on that, Mr. Kamara? I mean, this is more personal. Do you think? And let me say something before. Let me create the context. I watch the new government, on national television and listen to their audio messages and etc. So I try for deduce and adduce something from out of waiting at the hear and see. Do you think personally there will be a commission of inquiry? Because I talk about a commission of inquiry because sometimes in a democracy, especially in a fragile one, for Brianka up to standard, these commissions, are held because people are split, just like how we are. And we are trying to forge a path forward as one people. But there's a split, obviously, if you would watch social media, which I believe you do and I do. Okay? So once a commission of inquiry is formed, it just drives a wedge if it's politically motivated as well. So I like your calling. But listening to the new government in power and how the officials speak, not the presidency, the officials speak. But again, there's a parliament, and these things, the way they work, are technical. But personally, do you think there will be a commission of inquiry in terms of pursuing former corrupt government officials?
Well, I hope so. Because it's very important to allay all the fears. So, even it's good for those former past officials, because if they're exonerated, that they have not been corrupt in their job, that is good for them. So it paints a good picture because, to be honest with you, we know most Sierra Leoneans believe that all the politicians in Sierra Leone are corrupt. most of 99% of the politicians, people believe they are all corrupt. So it is good for any politician who is not corrupt to be exonerated. We can do it like a truth and reconciliation type of inquiry, which is not about punishing people, but to just ascertain the fact that this person has been corrupt before or this person has never been corrupt. So this is very important because it brings Sierra Leone to a new trajectory, a new path that shows that Sierra Leone is ready to embrace democracy and the rule of law. But this also should entail all political parties, even people in governance now, should be looked into, because as far as they've been in governance before, they should be looked into in this commission of inquiry. That's the only way the people of the other political party will support it. If you say it's only going to look, or I say it's only going to look at the past 10 years, then the people of the former government's APC party will say, oh, well, these people have come and reached out against us. What about the previous government before us that we are in power? Are they going to look into them as well? You see, so it has to look to everywhere.
It goes on and eventually becomes a witch hunt. I got 3 more questions for you. I really have to let you go. But just before I develop the next question, I can't stop for admire your temerity, your indefatigability, your resolve, your resilience. I mean, you're fasting, young man. And and the passion inside you is oozing, and I can feel the energy even across the phone. But we can't, move on without me asking you about how did a stone become a stone? A stone, capital letter, became a stone. In other words, the diamond brouhaha. Not once, twice, probably even the 3rd time. What's your take on this? What is really, really going on? Because there are questions being asked around the political spectrum, not only of a country, but on the international community. And this does not bode well for us. You cannot declare a stone, and then a stone in small letter, a stone in capital letter, and then a few hours later, after, here and there, and then you hear some other story. So it is becoming much more like a Sierra Leonean soap opera. Yeah, that's what it is becoming. Yes. And I can't talk to you today as a man, way dominant na the social media, where they in the know with connections and etc. What's your take, sir?
Yeah, it's very important again. I always come back to the rule of law and the processes in governance. This particular supposed alleged diamond or stone was not supposed to go to the vice president. It's supposed to go to the authorities and the Minister of Mineral Resources. They've got people there who this is their responsibility. But because people are not following the rule of law, they're not following the proper process, now this diamond ends up in the hands of the vice president. Now, this is an allegation between the people who found the diamond. Some said it was in his hand for over 2 days. He said, no, he's tested in front of the people. Now, how can we ascertain the facts? Because, like I said, 99% of the people in Sierra Leone don't believe the government. So they could be saying the truth, but how can we believe them now? Because they haven't followed the process. So why have they not followed the process? This is a big question here.
So I don't know where you take that. I don't know where you take that statistics from in terms of your 99%. When the government won an election and the election, they're not even finished the honeymoon period yet. Yet, you are claiming that this percentage of people does not represent or respect the government.
No, but they don't believe the politicians. That's what I'm saying. It's not that they don't vote for them or they don't feel represented, but they don't believe, they don't trust them. And that's just a clear fact. Yes, if you go to Sierra Leone, and you speak to even
point taken, Mr. Kamara. Point taken, point noted. Point really, really taken and point noted. But let me move on. We're coming towards the end of this. There have been a couple of high-profile firing in government. Okay. Earlier on, we talk about avoid witch hunt, the new government in power, and you name this and name that, and etc. Do you think that the witch hunt has started already, if you want to call it that way, or do you think the president enjoys the benefit of the public office that he occupies, that those that he's firing, by virtue of them being political appointees, serve at his pleasure and therefore can dispose of them when and how he wish? What do you think is going on?
Yes, that's another key thing. The president has the right, those political appointees, to change them or sack them as he wishes. But the thing is, he's got to follow a process. Like we've got latest reports of the former ministry, that was a ministry that is disbanded, which is a ministry of chief of staff. These people working there were civil servants, and they've got their employment contract with the government. So the problem is here is you cannot just go and say you're sacked, go home, that's it. No, you have to, if they're going to be made redundant, there has to be a redundant package. They have to work their notice through, they have to be paid, and all those sort of things. And these people are trying to bring litigation against the government now because this never happened. They haven't got no consultation, no nothing. You know, that's the key thing again about following the rule of law. If you don't follow the rule of law, then it's like living in a jungle. Everybody just come and does what they want. You see, this is
Absolutely.
The president has a right to fire them.
That's a key point. But, does this also apply to the foreign service and other areas of government?
Yes, it does. It does. It can change them, the foreign service, but there's another thing again, which everybody is saying now, because you have to have a transition period. If I'm the High Commissioner in the UK, you want to appoint another High Commissioner. You don't just come into governance 2 days. So, you go and report, go this, that, because I've got my family, I've got everything. It has to be done in consultation so that I will know if I'm going to be relieved from a job here. This is the time I have left. I need to pack. I need to move my family. We need to relocate again and everything. You know, this is all part of the Employment Act that it went through. So this has to be expected. And
so to develop... Go on. Please make your point.
Yes, the key thing here is the government is the guarantor of the rule of law in Sierra Leone. So everybody is expecting much from them. It's not like just a Jack and Jill down the road doing things like that. They are the guarantor. They should follow this process thoroughly. And people, let's not complain, because the president actually has the right to do that. All the political appointees to change them and bring people whom he thinks he may trust and he thinks they can work effectively with his government. But he has to do it in a process that is in tune with these people's employment. The process that is more respectful and in collaboration with the rule of law. Otherwise, everything will be looked in a witch hunt spectrum, and people will think, oh, this guy is just jumping people out that he doesn't like, people that doesn't support him, and it shouldn't work that way. Because even if you don't support him, at the end of the day, he's the president of all Sierra Leone, for all of us. It doesn't matter if we support him or not. He's not the president. He should look after all of us. You see? So for him to look after, for we certain people to think he's not looking after them doesn't bode well for the country and doesn't bode well for him as the head of the government. So this is very important for us, and it's very important for him as well.
One key area that was dissolved quite recently when the new government took over was the Department of Chief of Staff, a very powerful position, which now be along with the international community and blessings, which is ECOWAS, and then the Commonwealth and etc. And they play a very key role. But of course, this come back again to government. Like government, can do things which they feel that as long as it's not legislated, so therefore you serve at the pleasure. But with this ministry, almost a ministerial status, I don't understand all the parameters of the chief of staff, but it was quite a key, significant, and important position, which been there to tailor programs, developments, and you name it, that were coming into the country that sometimes go help for mitigate the actions them or the work of the president, you will see. But the new government has dissolved that part of the structure of government and has come up with something, I believe, whether not the equivalent called a chief minister, which we had just after elections. Have you got any opinion on that? Because there's plenty of confusion out there as well. And then the 100 and some more staff that were laid waste, in which you just spoke very thoroughly about in terms of procedure. It appears as if, again, there is procedural impropriety in terms of the way these people were laid waste, because there should be notice, and then the rest of it. What have you got to say regarding this? Although it seems almost like the same question.
Yes, it's definitely, that's the key thing you've touched here, because it's the procedure that wasn't followed for these people. Don't forget, the government is the guarantor of the security and the welfare of these people. And these people, welfare depend on the job. These people were employed and have a proper contract from governance. So we're expecting this new government to just adhere to those contracts. They can change it and bring another department. And this thing is of chief minister is also very important. Before, I think the first chief minister we had in Senegal, if I'm not mistaken, is Sir Milton Magai. Chief minister was just something like a substitute for prime minister, or in a parliamentary system of government like they've got in the UK here, which you got prime minister, something like that, chief minister. So that's why many people raise eyebrows, because we're thinking in this our presidential system, the chief minister is almost the same like the vice president, and we've got vice president already. So the chief minister to us, it seems like it's duplicating. But yes, he could create his own ministry and everything, which we know, although it's not mentioned actually, the chief minister in this our present 1991 constitution, anything, he could create something, although he said it was just an assisting role. But to the general public, it looked like a duplicating role. And the other reason he gave why he said he was going to cut down wages because there's too much expenditures and everything in governance. And we're thinking, well, if you disband the Ministry of Chief of Staff, we know, okay, you save all those wages and everything, but why are you now creating another new ministry, which is going to wages and everything again, you know?
No, we will discuss that. It seems like the Americans then call them poke belly. That means the under part of the poke.
Exactly.
In other words,
excessive.
So you say you are putting austerity measures into place because you want to put cuts, cut down so that you're able to rain money in. But yet you also exercise. Yeah, we'll come to that another day. But let me go to something almost on the same thing on the side of the present government. But this one has to do with the First Lady. Since they took over the reins of government, the First Lady, Mrs. Fatima Bio, she's made headlines, especially within social media circles, which I told you earlier on was very, very important. But listening to Lawrence Lahai Lima and the finance minister, J.J. Blood, at one time, when the reporter then that were questioning them asked something which was obviously extracted from social media, that was immediately dismissed as if it's not relevant. Social media is not relevant, which I don't agree with, by the way, because social media is here to stay and very dominant and very credible. Definitely. There's a lot of rubbish in there, but social media is on full par, okay, with conventional or mainstream media. That's where people look for now for news, because mainstream media is controlled, is directed, is the narrative of others that they want you to know and hear. That's what they parade there. Whereas social media, if you search thoroughly, there will be some little independence. It's difficult because it's almost like looking for a needle in a haystack, but it is there. Yeah. So I will take that up on another time, because I'm going to be scrutinizing the interviews. I'm just setting up the channel now where we'll listen to them, and then together we'll try to break down what they're saying, how different people see it. But this is the thing. The First Lady on social media has been accused of all kinds of wrong reasons, wrong approaches, wrong structures. That's by some, because while she's a hero to others, she looks like she's doing the wrong thing to others. It's never really even or easy to satisfy all. Of course, it's not even possible, because in the midst of anarchy, this kind of things, does really exist. So from the inauguration, the organizing of the inauguration, okay, to the cleaning of the city, again, things that you will have heard on social media about the First Lady and a lot of others. Now, my dear friend, I'm asking you, what is your view on our First Lady?
Well, I want to say about the First Lady, one key thing, I'm a supporter of women empowerment. So I like seeing women progress. And it's one of the things that disappoints me as well, because in Sierra Leone, 51% of the population are women. And this government, as the representation in government at the moment, has gone down. Even the APC, who were almost projecting 30%, it's regressed again. So I was disappointed in that. And I was even disappointed when the Lordship Mayor of Freetown, who happens to be a woman, was attacked. So I was very, very disappointed, because I think we need to empower our women, because they're the majority in the country. And they have to contribute positively to progress Sierra Leone forward, to move Sierra Leone forward. So I'm disappointed about this. Something I think maybe the First Lady has been badly advised, or maybe one key thing I take issue about is the way they try to, the way things are going on. Like for instance, there was a pass out at Benguma Barracks, a military pass out. We can clearly see from the videos that come there that the First Lady was inspecting a guard of honor. And we have to remind the First Lady, I mean the government, to remind them that the First Lady is not a constitutional position. The First Lady is thereby expected, put in a high pedestal because of she is the spouse of the president. So we gave her all sorts of respect and everything, but she is not a constitutional position. She's never been elected or anything like that. So I believe the advisors and people around the First Lady should advise her to the way how she go about doing her things. I think there are many roles she can play. I think she's a very active, energetic lady. I think she could do many, many things that brings about positive contribution towards Sierra Leone. And I think it's best advice for her to stick to those projects and try to be a little bit apolitical and get out of the political scenery a little bit and just continue promoting Sierra Leone projects that, you know, gonna help his husband to move the country forward. I think that's gonna be good, but let her just relax from the political issues, and you know that will help and benefit the country as well. I think that's just what, as I'm a supporter of women's empowerment, that's just a little bit of advice I've got for the First Lady. Otherwise, I don't blame the First Lady that much. I blame the advisors and people around her who should know better, really, you know, but that is how it is when people don't follow the rule of law. You see, it's very key.
I absolutely agree with what you've just, the way you've categorized the First Lady and the First Lady's office. I'm absolutely in agreement. And part of the joy, you know, yeah, or the upside down, the topsy-turvy world of social media is the way people go around and categorize social media in itself in trying to explain or counter-explain narratives. When this picture came out on the First Lady, apparently doing a guard of honor, which you rightfully said is a constitutional duty, to which she doesn't belong, and people need to understand that. I don't have any, that's why I say I agree with you, the empowerment of ladies, the proactiveness of the First Lady, I am totally in agreement with her, the way she's going about, you know, certain things. But then the office need to rein her in. But when supporters start bringing videos or tapes of Hillary Clinton, of Grace Mugabe, you know, on a different, you know, yeah, agenda, like Hillary Clinton visiting troops in Afghanistan or somewhere, that's not a guard of honor. It is certainly
that is not a guard of, that's meet and greet.
People try to equivocate that, you know, yeah, with what the First Lady was doing. And this is where the buck needs to stop, and we need to stop this little, you know, yeah, argument. So you did make a good point, and I really like that. Wish we had time to develop on that. This is my last question for you tonight. Okay, and it's obvious that 5 years in politics, that's assuming that the ruling party, not in your position, as I'm assuming that you will attempt, but 5 years in politics, my dear friend, is a very, very long time. The question to you is, other than what you aspire for the last time, will you be in pursuit of something else? I mean, within the political spectrum, will you be standing again? Or as a devoted, God-fearing person, are you going to tell me or tell the audience that you're going to leave it with God, whichever direction that God leads you, that's where you're going to go?
You've just answered part of the you've just given part of the answer. As I'm a very devoted, God-fearing person, I'm always guided by the direction God has guided me and the people. You know, one of the key motivations for me before I went into politics is my community. I was actually approached by my community, and they see me as somebody whom they think they can put trust on to represent them. So everything is, like you said, in the hands of God and my community as well. I'm always working with them, even now that I'm not in politics or anything. I wasn't successful in my political endeavors, but I'm still working with them. I'm still part of their community. I'm still a brother, you know, and part of the community, and that's the motivation. However I know I will contribute in moving the community forward, I'll be very happy and willing to do it. So everything else is in the hands of God, you know. And before we end up again, I want to say thanks to, I see few people whom I know tuning, and I want to say thanks to them again, and everybody who probably will listen to this audio or see this video again in the future. I want to say thanks to them. I want them to be objective with our points here. We're not trying to be critical of anybody. We all just want to contribute positively to the development of our beloved Mama Salone. So that's that. And I want to thank you very much. What you're doing as well.
So, Mr. Med, Superman, yes. I give you the opportunity to use the camera as we're doing tonight, because I believe that this video is going to see, hundreds are going to see it, if not thousands. Would you want to use this pulpit to speak directly to your party faithfuls, your party friends and comrades that are going to watch this video? Have you got any specific message for them in the now, in the future, reforms, things that we talk about? Any message that you want to direct at them?
Yes, what I want to say to them, I want to thank them very much for all their hard work and all their contribution towards the development and support of the party. But also what I want them to know is we have to follow the rule of law. We have to be peaceful. We have to respect law and order and contribute positively with this government, even in power, even if they don't support this government, but they have to contribute positively for the development of Mama Salone, because the key objective here is to see our country develop and move forward. So I'm admonishing them, I'm pleading with them that let's remain peaceful, loyal, law-abiding, and let's be positive in our attitude towards the development of Mama Salone, wherever it comes from. If it comes from this government, we should support them. If we know they're doing things that are not contribute towards the development of our country, we should be open and clear to them and objectively critical through social media, because social media, like you said, people like you have become ambassadors in social media and promoting the message of Sierra Leoneans worldwide to the diaspora back home in Sierra Leone. And this should continue, because this is a big opportunity for us, all Sierra Leoneans, to contribute positively in the development of our beloved Mama Salone. And I'm also urging the government in power that they shouldn't think they will get rid of social media that easily. If they think like that, that is to their peril, because social media is another extra arm of government now that is going to hold them into account. And people are watching and listening to social media, and things that you do in Sierra Leone today will get to the public and all over the world, everywhere within the next 1 minute or so. So this is my message to us Sierra Leoneans. Let's be positive, and let's continue to pray and try to do all whatever we can to contribute positively in the development of our beloved Mama Salone.
Thank you very much. Just to add to what you said, I appreciate all what you said, but social media cannot only act in holding the government into account, but it can be used as a counter narrative as well, or as a tool for government to make progress, which is a good thing.
Sensitizing people
ladies and gentlemen, I want to end on this note. For those of you who join later or even prior to this one, we did have one or two technical difficulties, which is becoming used to me now in explaining. And we had loads of people in the chat room that really, really wanted to hear this. But they're still going to hear it, but it's post-interview. Normally, I like a live production. For those of you that join later, I just wanted you to make it known to you that I was interviewing a young and dynamic fellow by the name of Mr. Mohamed Kamara, aka Superman, who stood in a constituency called 111, and he provided a historical background or the context for that constituency. If we listen to the tape all over again, we're going to get it. But I want to end on this note. You see, the government of the day, regardless of who you belong to, is the government of the day. If you listen to the inaugural speech of the president, he takes responsibility of the Constitution, and he is going to have to provide. And that's why the interviewee today said he's holding the president responsible. He quoted the part of the Constitution, which I don't have off my head, but I can say it very, very quickly because I've got it somewhere, which is chapter 2, section 5, subsection 2B. Which talks about the responsibility of the government. And the president in his inaugural, listen to it, he said it. This is why I am hopeful. This is why I'm optimistic. This is why I believe and I'm urging all despite our political differences, our different stripes, if this government succeeds, the country succeeds. If the country succeeds, me and you succeed.
Yeah.
Governments come and go, but the people remain. This is them. There will be another time for you. So whilst they are there now, we can be critical, we can critique. And in fact,
give them all our support,
social media is full of